Hey guys, welcome back to Whitetail Affinity. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys what I do when I lose blood while I'm blood trailing a deer, and it's a process that I call arcing. I'm going to show you what to do, what to look for, and how to do it, as well as a picture that I referred back to that has helped me quite a bit, and I call it the blood trailing funnel. It's kind of a picture that shows you expected times and expected area that you're expected to cover based on where you shot the deer and what kind of a hit that you had on the deer. So if you watch the longer video that I put out on blood trailing, this is basically the back half of that video. But I wanted to put this part of it out just in case you didn't get that far in the video, or for guys that are a little more experienced in deer hunting and tracking and all that. Just wanted to show you guys this technique, and hopefully it helps you even if you are experienced in tracking deer. I'm going to link the full video in the description below, so if you want to check it out, it's still got a lot of good information on the front end of that video. So I'll have that in the description for you guys. But I think this part of the video is probably one of the most important parts, so I wanted to do it in a more condensed version, easier to digest, a lot quicker for you. So here we go.
Warning, this video might make you a better deer hunter. Whether it does or not depends on if you put the information to use. At the end of the day, that is my goal, to help you become a better deer hunter. Let's get into it.
Well, that's exactly what we want him to do. I just blew that shot. Okay guys, now that I've given you a couple of examples of what to think about when you do lose blood, where to go next, and what to do as far as getting down at the deer's level, I want to show you on here on the whiteboard kind of my process once I get to that point as far as losing blood, and when I get down at the deer's level, what I'm looking for, and what I do next. So it's best to do this alone. If you have help, it's best to bring help if you can, but only to assist you with last blood and maybe dragging the deer if you find it. As far as tracking goes, you don't want to have 2 or 3 people trying to find blood all at the same time, because there's a couple reasons. One, a lot of things can happen as far as kicking up leaves that might have blood on them that they didn't see. You can mess up the track that way. If you plan on calling in a dog, if you can't find the animal, that will also completely destroy the scent trail for the dog to follow. It'll confuse the dog. So it's best to do it alone. Leave your help back at last blood. Exhaust all your tracking efforts by yourself first, and then at the end, if you decide not to use a dog, bring everybody in to try to grid search and all that, or to help you get the deer out. But as far as tracking goes, try to do it alone. Leave your people at last blood. That'll be the best way they can help you at this point. So what you're going to do, if you come to your last blood and then you lose blood, you're going to get down to that deer's level, look around, and try to pick the best route that you think it went. And it might look something like this. You've got blood all the way to this point. Right here's last blood. You've kind of searched in this area a little bit, and you haven't found any more blood. So the next thing you want to do is pick a path. Pick all the paths that you can see that you think the deer might have taken. Now, this right here, there might be a deadfall here. There might be an overturned fallen tree that has its root ball overturned that the deer couldn't go through, obviously. So it would have had to have gone around that. The same thing here. It could be some thick brush, thick saplings. This could be a fence. The fence could have a gap in it. So these 3 might not be here, but the fence coming across here, that deer could have jumped the fence or went through the fence in this scenario, but couldn't have gone another direction. So could be any number of different situations, but you want to look for the path that the deer would have taken. And so you start at last blood, get down at their level, and you're looking, and you say, okay, here's a path that they could have taken here, here, and here. And then you start walking down those paths. And you go about, pick a path, go about 20 yards up the path, looking for blood. So go slow, take your time, scan, do your best to see the most sign on any given path. But go about 20 yards, stop, scan the area, turn around, come back, do the same thing on the next one. Scan out here. If you haven't found blood, just keep doing that on every path. And a lot of times you'll go, the deer might stop bleeding for some reason. It might have started running faster. There might be some reason why you lost blood here. But if you pick a path and go down it, you may find it out here. So doing this straight out and straight back on every one is going to be the best way to do that, so that you don't mess up the scent trail as best you can. Now, if I've walked every path that I think the deer might have taken and I still can't find any blood, what I do next is something that I call arcing. You've probably heard of gridding in the past. That's where you just grid search an area, back and forth in some manner. But I call this arcing, and I think that this is a better technique to use as far as trying to find next blood, because you're not going to mess up the scent trail of the animal by just zigzagging all around and trying to find blood. If you end up calling in a dog, this is the biggest reason why I do it this way, because if you do end up calling in a dog, that dog is is following that scent trail, and if you're zigzagging all around, you're dragging scent all over. You might have crossed that scent where the deer ran, and now you're taking that scent all over and zigzagging, so you're going to confuse that animal. The dog's not going to be able to find it as easily. So it's best to do it the way I'm showing you here. And like I said, I call it arcing. Might be a new concept for you, which hopefully it helps, but this is how I do it. So I go to last blood, and I imagine a line right here, and I call it arcing because you're gonna arc in a circle, a half circle like that. So you're gonna go straight out from last blood, and the reason why I go straight out, and if you haven't found blood out here, that deer, a lot of times, we've all heard of deer circling back around, and a lot of times you'll be tracking an animal, and then you'll end up back by your tree stand, or you'll end up back over by your truck, or you've heard stories of guys doing that. A lot of times deer will circle back around to where they were hit or near it. So the reason I do this way, I come here to last blood, and I'm going to walk straight out about 30 yards, and then I'm going to arc all the way around like this. And then I'm going to come straight back to the last blood. Now hopefully once you do this, you're going to find blood out here somewhere, but that deer could have completely turned and went this way and started circling, and you might have missed it on one of these paths. So that deer could have come out here, dropped back around. So when you do it this way, you're going to eventually run into that deer if it did start circling back around. Now the reason I go 30 yards out is because you've already went 20 yards here. So you want to go 20 here on these paths, go back to last blood, start arcing, go out 30. Now you're looking at the 5 to 10 yards that you've got between your last points of contact here and another 5 to 10 yards on this side of it. And so you're covering back to where you stopped before, and you're covering 5 to 10 yards of new ground that you could find blood at. Now I do this in 10-yard increments. Like I said, it takes a long time, so it's not an easy task, but it can be worth it. You could run into blood eventually. So I come out here and I go another 10 yards all the way around, and then back to last blood. So I do that in 10-yard increments all the way to, if you can do it to 100 yards or so, that's great. If you can only do it 50 or 60 because you hit some sort of land feature that you can't pass, or that's too thick, or whatever the case may be, do it to at least 100 yards, I would say, because that's the deer. A lot can happen in that 100 yards from last blood, and if you keep coming out and arcing back around, like I said, you got a greater chance of running into that blood trail. And especially, like I said, if that deer comes out here and circles back, you're going to cover this whole side. If it came out in this way and come back down, you're going to run into it somewhere in here. So not only is it really good for finding that deer that's come back around or circled, or finding continuous blood out in these areas past your 20 yards in here, the other reason is that by doing it this way, you're not gridding, you're not messing up that scent trail. So if you do end up calling in a dog, you're only crossing that deer. Let's just say the deer went this way. You're only crossing that trail, that scent trail, this one time like this. Instead of zigzagging all through and messing it up like that, you're only crossing it one time. So even though you're going to pick up some scent, if you do cross that deer's trail and don't find any blood still, that dog, it might catch that scent that you drug away, and then it'll fade away, and then he's going to come back and get on the heavier scent. That deer's leaving scent with every step, and it's going to be stronger smelling to that dog than the scent that's on your boots. So by only crossing it one time perpendicularly to its trail, you're not going to mess it up by doing all this zigzagging and coming back and forth. So those are a couple of the main reasons why I do it this way, as far as deer coming back around and not messing up the scent trail if you're planning on calling in a dog. So now let's say you've done everything you can. You've went to Last Blood, picked a path, searched each path, nothing. You went out, you arced as far out as you could, or out to about 100 yards or so, and you still can't find any blood. So at this point, you've probably got, in my mind, you've got two different options. Option one, you don't call in a dog. If you don't have a dog available to you for whatever reason, not one in your area, etc., if you just don't want to, you don't want a dog messing up your property, whatever your reason may be for not calling one in, it's okay, by the way, if you don't want to call one in. Whatever the reason is, though, if you don't call a dog in, this is the point where I would just start gridding the property, and I would go back and think about the lay of the land, like I said before. Where's the water? Where's the thick stuff? Where's bedding? Where's the safest place on your property? And then I would start gridding. Get all the help you can. Bring your friends, bring your kids, bring your wife, whatever. Get all the help you can to come help you do this, because you're not worried about messing up the scent trail. You're not calling in a dog. And the more people you employ, you can spread them out from Last Blood, start gridding, crisscross each other, however you want to do it. Comb the area the best you can, and hope for the best with those land features in mind, like I said, like water, thick stuff. So gridding would be the option if you're not calling in a dog. Now, if you've done the picking of the paths, you've done the arcing, and you still haven't found anything, and you have a dog available to you, or you have used them before, whatever it is, you want to call in a dog, now is the time to do that. Because going out further and just randomly going through the woods, like I said, is going to mess up any scent that's left by that deer. And calling in a dog now is really your last option as far as finding this animal. Now, guys, if you're going to call in a dog, it should be your very last resort in every situation when you're tracking or blood trailing an animal. I think they're a great tool. I've got friends that are dog trackers. I've seen these dogs in action myself. They are absolutely amazing at what they do and how they track these deer. But I still think that tracking and blood trailing is one of those skills that should still be had and be honed and practiced. And I don't think that people are taking tracking and blood trailing as seriously anymore because of dogs. And like I said, they're an amazing tool, but a lot of guys are using dogs and having that resource available to them as an excuse to make bad shots. And they'll just, oh, it's facing me, and whatever, I'll just shoot it in the shoulder and I'll call in a dog, or it's facing away from me. If you watch that shot placement video, I go into more detail about that. But guys are taking way more marginal shots because they have the dog as a backup if things go wrong. And I just don't think that that's right. I think that you should still be always trying to take the best shot you can on an animal, killing it the most effectively as you can, so that you don't have to track and you don't have to blood trail all day long or do any of this or call in a dog. I think it should be the very last resort. I don't want to preach about it too much, but again, try to practice being a better blood trailer and tracker before you call in a dog. So with all that being said, you call in a dog, it's a great resource, and these dogs are amazing. And how they track deer, they don't actually follow blood. There might be some scent left by blood that they pick up and whatnot, but that's not the main reason or the main way that they track. Dogs are tracking based on the scent that's left by the interdigital gland of the deer. And what that is if you've never seen it, and I'm no artist, by the way, so this is my rendering of a deer hoof and leg. But here you have the deer hoof, and right up in here at the bottom of the leg, right here, right by the hooves, right before the hooves, up on the leg, is almost like a hole in the animal, and that hole is where the interdigital gland is located. And interdigital gland is used for all kinds of things. They leave scent while they're walking, they leave scent in the scrapes, they leave scent when there's danger, they leave scent in all kinds of ways, probably ways that we don't even know ourselves. But one of the things that happens when you shoot an animal, at least from my understanding and what I assume is happening, is that animal is pumped full of adrenaline. It's releasing basically a pheromone that is telling other deer that there's danger, almost like its white tail going up. So when it's running away, whether it's because it's injured, stressed, whatever the reason may be, it's releasing these chemicals through that interdigital gland, and that's how the animal, the dog, is tracking that deer. So that's why a lot of times you lose blood, that dog can go right to the last blood, and it'll follow that trail right to the deer. And then even if it doesn't go right to the deer, a lot of times that deer or that dog will be tracking that deer. Let's just say it come up this way and took this way. That dog will be coming over here down that deer's interdigital gland scent trail, and say that deer might have come around and is dead right here. That dog a lot of times will hit right in here. It won't even follow the rest of the track around to the deer if it's circled or went straight this way or whatever. A lot of times it'll just stop, it put its nose up in the air, and it's smelling that dead animal, the scent from that animal. So they're a really good tool. The dogs track, that's how they track and what they're looking for and smelling for. And they're a really awesome resource to have. So in any event, you call in a dog, first thing that tracker is going to want to know is where you shot the animal. Where you shot the animal, again, refer to the shot placement video before, but where you shot that animal is going to tell that guy how that track is going to go, how his dog is going to perform, what the odds are of finding that animal. You know, if you hit the deer in the spine, if you hit it in the shoulder, guts, hindquarters, leg, neck, whatever it is, be honest about where you hit the animal. And he's also going to want to know if you tracked the animal. And this is another reason why I do things this way, because a lot of times, if you're going to call in a dog regardless, don't even track. Don't even try to come find last blood. If you're going to call in a dog and you know you are, do not even bother. Just don't track, call the guy, get him there, take him to where you shot the animal, and the dog will take care of the rest. But if you do track, and this is why I do it this way, if you do track the animal, you try to find it yourself first. This is why I'm doing it this way, because that animal, he's going to want to know, did you track it? So, and why he's asking that is because if you went out and tried tracking and you're just zigzagging all around and walking all over the place, you've completely destroyed that scent trail, probably, and that dog is going to have a lot harder time finding that animal because he's going to be so confused on all that scent left that you drug out everywhere and spread out across the whole landscape. So he's going to want to know where you hit it, if you've tracked it, and he's going to want to know everything about the shot that you can tell him. Be honest about it. Give every detail you can. Tell him everything that you remember. Give him an idea of the lay of the land. Tell him where water is. He's going to want to know all these things. It's going to help him put a picture together to be able to. He knows what his dog can do. So he's going to put this big picture together, and it's going to help him determine how to proceed, what to do. Tell him how long it's been since the shot. Every detail, everything you can remember. Be honest about it and tell him all about it. So that's very important. It'll help out the dog track, just like if you were tracking it yourself. So, like I said before, the dogs are very effective. These things, they're trained to do this. They're amazing animals. Like I said, they can follow that interdigital scent. They can follow the smell of the dead animal, a lot of things, and they can differentiate from other deer and other animals between the two based on what they're smelling left from that interdigital gland. So the best thing to do, get them out there, show them where you shot the deer, let them take over from there, or where you were at last blood. Let them take over from there and kind of stay back. Let the dog do its job. That dog tracker has done this 100 times probably, and he'll know what his dog's telling him just by watching what he does. Using the dog is a great tool, and you should pay them for it. Whether they're donation only or whether they charge, you should pay them well. A couple years back, Tommy shot a buck out on some public land out here, and we lost the blood trail, hit him in the liver. We lost the blood trail, so we stopped right at last blood, did not try to go find that deer. It was a nice buck, so we called the dog. We called my buddy that's a dog tracker. He came over the next morning, took off from that last blood, went and followed that trail, no blood at all, found that deer within 10 minutes, not even probably. So they're well worth their weight in gold. And even if you don't find the animal, I actually had one 4 years ago now that I used that we didn't even find the deer. And I made a bad shot, called the dog in. We tracked for about 4 hours going through nasty marshes. The deer was hopping islands out in this cattail marsh, and we never found the deer. And it got to the point the dog was still trying to track, but physically the dog and the gentleman that was providing the service to me couldn't go any further. So he said, I can't go any further. The dog's tired, whatever. So we backed out, and I still paid that man $100 for his time. So pay them well. They're well worth their weight in gold, especially if they're finding the trophy that you can't find yourself. So think about it like that. Pay them what they deserve, whether it's donation or if they charge. Even if they charge and they find your animal, give them a tip. They're well worth it. They're taking time out of their life to come help you find your deer. Pay them like the best waiter you've ever had. So now, if you've exhausted all these efforts, you brought in the dog can't find the deer for whatever reason, there's two things that are happening. One, either the deer's still alive and well, and you're never going to find it. It'll probably live from its wounds. Or two, it's dead, and you might have to come back the next day and continue your search, grid every area that you can. I mean, I know a lot of guys will just give up and say, that deer's still alive or whatever, but I mean, if it's a nice buck and you want to find that animal, might as well come back and give it another shot. So at that point, you'd come back, do your best to find those thick areas, the areas by water, grid it as best you can, bring any help that you can bring, and you want to look for other signs of scavengers like crows, vultures, eagles, coyotes. You want to look for any of that, because a lot of times you can find a dead animal based on crows circling up in the air, listening for coyotes, stuff like that. So if you exhaust the dog and can't find it, that's always an option as well, or the deer's alive and you might get a chance at it another day. So guys, the last thing I want to leave you with about the dogs and dog tracking is this picture that a dog tracker put together a couple years ago. And I showed it in the shot placement video, but I think it's an important visual representation for you guys to look at as far as dog tracking and the success rates and based on where the deer was hit. And what he did was he put tags on this picture of this deer where the deer that he was tracking were shot. And this tells you what kind of a marginal hit they had, or how, if they found the animal, if they confirmed the animal alive, not found, etc. So as you can see there, all the red tacks are where they found the animal, and it was a lethal hit, and the other ones weren't so lethal. And we don't know the context of every one of these stories, but it's just a good indicator for you guys as far as shot placement, and which leads right into blood trailing, on the importance of making a good shot and making sure that you're hitting organs that are vital and lessening your odds of even having to track that animal, let alone calling a dog. So this picture, I thought it would be valuable for you guys to show you guys again, and I hope you learned something from this. Hey guys, if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. I know your time's valuable, and if you're still watching My Ugly Mug spew all this stuff, and you must be gaining some value of some sort, or at least not tired of me yet. So if you're getting anything out of this video, please like, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. I don't know which side it's on. I think it's on this side. Smash that thing, share this video with some friends, and I really appreciate you guys, as always, for being here with me. All right, guys, so to further help you guys out, I put together this chart, and this was all out of my own mind. I didn't copy anybody. I didn't try to rip anybody off, so if anything similar that's like this is out there, that's my fault, my bad. I didn't research this, I just thought of it, and I thought it might help you guys, give you another different visual to look at to help you with blood trailing and what to look for and all that. So down here, what this triangle represents, it's almost kind of like the food pyramid, but what it represents is you've got heart, arterial, and lung shots down here, and what it represents is the minimum time before you start tracking those kinds of shot deer. So a liver shot up here will be 4 hours or more, 10 hours or more for gut shots. And it also represents the expected amount of tracking that you have, that you can expect to do based on where you hit the animal. So here you've got a real short time frame, real small window where you probably will find that animal within 100 yards or so of where you shot it. Liver could be within 100 yards or within 300, depending on if the deer walks away, how far it runs, if you push it, etc. But generally, you'll have a liver shot deer will die pretty close to within 200 or 300 yards of where you shot it in most cases, especially if it's not pushed. And then up here you have gut shot deer where if you don't push it, it may be down in here into the liver area as far as distance that it traveled, but a lot of times your search area is going to be a lot bigger. So how you can kind of look at this is I envision just myself down here, and I'm going to start tracking. And the further I go this way, longer my track job, the bigger the area as you go out, the bigger the area that you're going to have to expect to track. Up here, there's other non-lethal hits, and those are going to be your shoulder shot deer, your no man's land, or you just hit above the spine deer, your ham shot deer that didn't hit any arteries. So all those deer up here that are either going to die further away out of your zone of searching, or they're not going to die at all. They're going to be just fine. Those are what these are. And I put it in a small frame up here because by that time you've probably exhausted all your options anyway, and either you're not going to find that deer or it's going to live. So, but like I said, you go start walking, this imaginary walking this way, you're going to wait a minimum of an hour for these hits. You can expect to find it within 100 yards. Liver shot deer, you're waiting for 4 hours, so your wait time is increased, and then you can expect it to be a little bit further as far as your search area. That's why this area is a little bit bigger. Then once you get up here to your gut shot deer, you're going to be 10 hours minimum, and you could have a very large search area because that animal has a lot more time to cover more ground, especially if you push it. If it isn't hit that lethally as far as where it's hit, if it's a combination shot like a liver gut shot, single lung liver gut shot, straight intestines, all these factors are combined or singular to give you that expanded range that you can expect with a gut shot deer. And then up here, like I said, your non-lethal hit shots, your deer that are going to run further and die that you're not going to find or are going to live. So this is just another way for you guys to look at things. I hope it helps you. Hope you find some value out of it. Another way to look at it. Any way that you can look at these things, every angle can help. So that's what I'm trying to do. And again, guys, just like in the shot placement video, all the things in this video are they're not conclusive at all. They're very dependent on a lot of factors, a lot of things, your equipment, the situation, the angle of the deer, organs that you hit. There's a ton of variables. So none of the things in this video are conclusive, but they are a very good starting point and a very good way to track the animal to have the best odds of finding it. And whether you're using a dog, whether you're tracking it yourself, using friends, whatever the case may be, if you follow the steps in this video, you're going to have better odds and better success at finding your deer. So guys, with that, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you found any value in this video at all, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment down below. Let me know how I'm doing. Share this with your friends. I know a lot of people could use this information, so I hope it helps you enough to make you want to share it. And as always, we'll see you guys all in the next video.